What's going on, everybody? I want to make a video today sharing my first impressions on the Crucial Concealment Universal Light Bearing Holster. Specifically, why I bought it, what I think of it, and plans for the future, right? So I just got this holster in the mail. I haven't taken it out to the range and trained with it. Haven't carried it all day, nothing like that. I've just taken it out, set it up based on my specific firearms, and I've done some dry fire from inside the waistband, and I already have a few thoughts. So this is the holster. This is the gun I'll be using kind of as an example. It is my Beretta 92X, nothing in the mag, nothing in the chamber. So before we get into the holster itself, why did I buy this, right? That's kind of the question that starts every purchase. There are two reasons. Number one is I shoot IDPA matches, as I shared in my video detailing the setup of this gun, and I kind of wanted to try out a weapon light for the added weight up front. I've taken to the range with the light on it a couple of times, and although I don't have a holster, so I just kind of stand there and shoot, it seems like with the X300, my red dot doesn't actually ever leave the window, which is pretty cool. You know, it's not a huge deal, because if I don't have the X300 on there, it comes right back, right? The return to zero is fine, but it's pretty cool to never like lose awareness of your dot going up and down under recoil. So the recoil reduction is the primary benefit that I'm running it on the Beretta. But the secondary reason is, in my video on pistol grip, you saw this mounted to my 1911. Carrying the 1911, I figured why not carry it with a weapon light. If I'm carrying a gun that, you know, big and heavy, as if the Beretta's any slimmer. But if I'm carrying a gun that big and heavy, it's probably cold outside. And if it's cold outside, it probably gets dark early. So wouldn't hurt to have a weapon light on there. And that would give me a reason to carry the 1911. You know, I've got my Beretta and my SIG. Why do I really need a single stack 45 if not to have a weapon light on there? So that's why I got it. I haven't run weapon lights on my concealed carry handguns thus far in my journey. I kind of wanted to try it out. Why did I choose the Crucial Concealment holster? Primarily price. So there are probably like 4 or 5 good universal holsters out there that I've seen, right, from reviews. I don't have all of them, but Tier 1 Concealment makes the MSP holster. Filster makes the floodlight holster. LAS Concealment makes, I think it's the Tanto, that's their universal holster. Several good companies make them, right? But if I'm not sure I'm going to be carrying and competing with a weapon light, and I'm kind of getting it to try out, I don't really want to spend like $120 to $130 on a holster, right? Now, my JM Custom Kydex, that's over on the other desk, but that holster was like 90 bucks for the Beretta. So it's not that those holsters are exorbitantly expensive for the features you're getting. I just didn't want to spend that much. So this holster I picked up for $52 on Amazon. Now, when you start spending less than about $70 on a holster, it's pretty much a wing and a prayer. So I didn't have high expectations for the clip. I didn't have high expectations for the claw. I didn't expect much from the retention system and adjustability. And I didn't expect much from the Kydex. Usually Kydex at that price point is a little bit softer and more flimsy. It's not the thick, like rigid stuff that I like. So didn't have high hopes, but I knew it would allow me to try out the holster. So let's get into the features. Since there aren't many videos out there, I want to give you guys a rundown. Instead of 2 clips, we've got this one in the middle, which I generally prefer having 2 belt clips, but I think kind of the bigger you go, the less of a big deal it is. On small guns, definitely prefer having a clip kind of on each end of the holster. But with something like this is pretty stable, right? There's not much room under your belt line for this to move around. And the gun kind of acts as a big flat pad to keep it in place. So I think the single clip is fine. So far, I've actually really enjoyed this clip. It is just made out of plastic, but good retention, good rigidity. It has a, in the front corner there, I don't know if you can see, it has a little bit of a sharp edge from the thermal molding, or however they create the plastic, but that's fine. You can knock that down with a file. That does have a concealment claw, to help push the grip of the pistol into your belt, but it is not very large. It doesn't do a whole lot of anything. I think at this point, with a holster of this size, a wedge up here would help more to lever the gun into your body. So concealment claw doesn't do much. You could replace this with an aftermarket option. I just don't know. The hole spacing looks a little close together based on what I've seen on like my T-Rex arms holster. So I don't know which aftermarket option would fit, but you could always do something like that. And then the retention. This is where I start to get pleasantly surprised. So the retention on this holster works in two ways. There is the securing to the gun itself, adjusting the size of the holster so it doesn't rock back and forth. And then there's the actual tension of the holster, or the retention that dictates the difficulty to both pull the holster in and out. So these screws are for the wing, these screws are for the clip. So you have this screw right here that is an independent tension adjustment screw, right? That screw's only job, it holds the holster together, but that's how you adjust the actual difficulty of taking the holster, or taking the gun in and out of the holster rather. So that's nice. I always like to see an independent tension adjustment screw. So that's good. And then how they do the eliminate the rocking in this holster is these two screws right here. I'm gonna point a gun at you, so maybe I'll take that out. Do you see the piece right here? That piece is sort of shaped like this. And what you do is you adjust those two screws, or you loosen them. You put your gun in, and then you can clamp that piece to the slide of your gun. A couple things to note. This Beretta, you'll see it has an exposed barrel and then the slide. It kind of sticks up there. So if I were to do that for the Beretta and adjust it to where it meets the barrel when the gun is in the holster, it would catch on this sort of front sight area. So I don't have it adjusted for the Beretta. I don't need it because of the size of the gun. It's not really going to rock forward and backward. But on my 1911, I messed around with it, and it is nice to be able to sort of clamp that piece to the top of the slide. It is only half of the gun, so it should clear your front sight off to the side. But I thought this was an interesting solution to the problem, right? A lot of the other universal holsters, they just have sort of like this tension screw. They'll have something mirrored on the other side, or they'll have some kind of form of elastic adjustment that kind of clamps to whatever pistol you insert. So it's nice that you can kind of secure this to whichever pistol you'll run, instead of it kind of just being a bucket of a holster that attaches to the light. So that's pretty cool. The Kydex is also very, very high quality. Feels like I've had Tier 1, T-Rex Arms, LAS Concealment, and JM Custom Kydex. I've had holsters from all of those companies, and this feels excellent. It's actually on par with those. I'm very pleasantly surprised with the quality of the Kydex. So what do I dislike about the holster? Number one, obviously, is the claw here. It's not doing much. I would have preferred a little bit more of a tuck, or maybe an adjustable system. The retention system is cool. Is it necessary? Maybe, maybe not. But so that's neither here nor there. They made this ambidextrous. Now, obviously, that kind of helps with the number of SKUs that dealers have to stock, because instead of just having, you know, one right-handed and one left-handed, you can stock one holster. But for the average, you know, person buying this doesn't make sense, right? I'm right-handed, so I'm always going to carry a gun right-handed. I don't really need the ability to swap. And what that does is create maybe a little extra material. So this actually functions pretty well. It doesn't really gape out like I've seen some other like ambidextrous holsters do. But if you didn't make it ambidextrous, you could have gotten a little bit better of a sweat guard, which on a universal holster, you have to consider things like manual safeties on 19 and 2011s. So I understand why they didn't do that, but I would have preferred just a single-sided holster, maybe reduce the material a little bit, or give us a sweat guard. And the other thing up front is this shark fin cut. I don't really like getting burned by my barrel after I've done a lot of shooting. But again, on a universal holster, I understand why they did this, right? So if you have a compensator out front, or you have anything hanging off the front of your pistol, if you have a long slide, this, you know, can accommodate a lot of different firearms. So I understand why other holsters in the segment maybe have that enclosed, or they at least give you the options. If you have like maybe 3 guns you're going to run, and the length of all of them will fit in an enclosed holster. But that's the only other negative I noticed. So got this set up for the Beretta. Like I said, I did not adjust the little side claw tensioner. I just left that at max height. I had to reduce the ride height, or rather increase the ride height as low as it would go, so that 507 comp clears my belt. And in its stock configuration, that was pushing my belt farther out. But for the 1911, it works with the ride height all the way down. You just might have some interesting discrepancy between where your belt falls and where your concealment claw is pushing if you reduce the ride height. So be aware of that. But the retention is very nice. It is a mix of friction and click. So I don't know how I can show you guys this, but there is a little cutoff inside of there. So it is friction fit until you get to the very end. Low power notification there. Until you get to the very end. And maybe, I think the Beretta, it's pushing on the grips here, so it doesn't quite click in. But with the 1911, there would be a click at the end, and if I really push this, it's locked in there. But all in all, for my purposes, right, for trying out a weapon light for IDPA shooting and for carrying a 1911 with a weapon light somewhat infrequently, I think this is a great option. Hopefully this video helped you guys, because when I was buying this holster, I couldn't find any videos other than the manufacturer's product promo video. So let me know if you have any questions I can answer about this holster. Like I said, I haven't carried it yet. This is just a first impressions video, but wanted to get this out there to help anybody making their own purchasing decision. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you on the next one.